This video is the second version of the design proposal for the changes we are planning to make to layers to enable more flexibility. The first issue is still allowing people to specify the path to the layer source code instead of a Git repository. So the process again starts from the import layer page. You still need to provide a name for your layer, and we still, as we saw in the previous video, have two options when we import in a layer. You can specify a Git repository by filling this information, or you can specify a directory. And if you click that option, we give you a field where you can just type the path or browse it, and once you have specified that, you can import the layer into your project. And it goes into the project layers that will go into bblayers.conf. And if you click on the layer to see the information, here's where the changes from the previous versions really start. Before we gave you the possibility of adding a Git repository on top of the path to the layer source code, now that's kind of gone. Basically, you can switch between both. You have specified a directory here, and if you want to change that to a Git repository, you can click this edit button, and you can actually do that. You can specify a different directory as well, but if you now want to switch these and specify a Git repository for this layer, you can do so from the layer details page. You just need to provide the Git repository information and save your changes, and now the imported layer has changed to point to a Git repository. So basically, a single version allowed for any imported layers, and you can switch between a local version and a Git repository version. The second problem we had was connected to the layers coming from the layer index. People didn't realize that these layers as they are cannot be changed, but it is possible to import your own versions of these layers. So one of the problems we have at the moment is that there is no visibility of these, and users do not realize they can do that. So to handle these, we have decided for now to not allow changes to the layers that come from the layer index to keep these data sane. But I've added an option here that says import your own version of this layer that somehow I hope will give more visibility to the fact that if you have your own version of Open Embedded Core or any other layers that come from the layer index, you can actually import your own version into Toaster, and that's the way you can use it in your project. So if you click this option, we bring you to the import layer page, which is pre-populated with the information from the layer you started from. So the layer name is set to Open Embedded Core copy, so we just need to add something like copy at the end of the layer, and it is set to Git repository because that's the information we have at the moment. So you have the Git repository URL, the subdirectory if needed, but the revision is blank. This is because I'm assuming the first thing people might want to do is actually to provide or to use a different revision. So you can enter a revision in there, but if you have your own Git repo for OE Core, or you want to point it to a local version, you can also do that. You can change the Git repository URL in there, and then you can import that to project, and now Open Embedded Core copy is here. Obviously, before starting any build, the person will need to know that they need to remove the original Open Embedded Core. But hopefully, if they've gone through this process and they know all these, they probably are aware that they cannot have two Open Embedded Cores in the project configuration. The third problem we wanted to tackle was the fact that if the layer you're interested in building does not have a branch that matches the project release, it is not shown, it's not displayed in the all layers page. So someone suggested to me, why don't we have a global all layers page that shows all the layers that exist with all the revisions, and that way people will know if the layer they want to build exists but is not compatible or not in the list of layers compatible for the project because it doesn't have the right branch. So we could do that. I'm not particularly fond of this option because I think it can be rather messy when it comes to providing actions. We would somehow, ideally, we would need to detect the referral project and mark the layers that are already part of this project as already there, and the others you could import in exactly the same way as any other layer. And you click this button, you go to the import layer page, and we pre-populate the information. I don't particularly like this. I think it can get messy quite quickly. Another option maybe is following the layer index approach and just break down or provide different views for the different branches. So we could add a layer revisions menu to the compatible layers page. And when you open it, you say, okay, this is what you're showing, this is what's available to you, this is what you can see. You can see layers that are available for master, you can see layers that are available for the stable release that Toaster supports at that point in time, and you can see other. And this basically is this other category is to cover the imported layers, which can be imported in any branch, with any branch name or any revision name that you want. The idea would be that we would default these to other plus the branch that matches the project version you selected. And that way we would encourage people to build the right thing, but it would also somehow provide visibility of other things that might exist, but might not exist for the specific project version project revision that you or project release you have selected.